What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rants and Headaches, and today we're talking about a very important topic. Should men be making videos in which they express their opinions? Now, I know some of you out there might say something like, well, men should be able to express their viewpoints just as much as women, but frankly, that's a bit too progressive of a stance for me. I think that it's quite clear that when men have access to freedom of speech the way that we do, we end up with a disaster. Not to mention that discouraging men from expressing their opinions can be a good thing. It really might be what's best for them, especially for those who are putting those thoughts and opinions into videos that they put on the internet. It opens them up to criticisms they might not be able to handle. And it might also expose them to views that they're not comfortable with or frankly not ready for yet. Now, obviously, I do not actually share those views or frankly think that that conversation should be up for debate, but that's kind of what my mind goes to when I see videos like, should Christian women work outside of the home? Because it's just so ridiculous. I am an atheist. If you are new to my channel, I think religion is ridiculous. I consider myself quite an anti-religious person, and stuff like this is why religion will never be in my life ever again. Now, this video is not actually to really rip on Alan Parr so much as address what the title made me think, what some of the initial comments made me think, and just talk about how these kinds of mindsets affected my growth.
Hey, we're going to talk about a subject that is kind of near and dear to our home, specifically recently, based on some recent developments in the Parr household. And I trust that it's going to be similar to many of you who might be making the decision, should you, as a Christian woman, should you continue to be a career-oriented woman? Should you continue to have a job outside of your home that might be a little bit tough to balance? We'll talk a little bit about that. Or should you just be more in a traditional role where you come home and support your husband and your kids and things like that?
Now, I'm not going to sit here and go through my whole transition from Christian to atheist. I will say, though, that I did believe pretty wholeheartedly, and it was so important to me, and I thought God was real and loved me, and that the Bible was real and all this other stuff. So a lot of the sexism and the gender roles crap, frankly, like, I noticed those things, but they weren't really enough to bother me to the point that it would be this huge red flag. In a nutshell, I got very sick. It forced me to kind of look outside myself, and instead of just asking, okay, why would God allow this to me? Because of course it could be a lesson, it could be, God's purpose, whatever. It really made me look at the world and go, okay, but what about everyone else? How can God abandon us in all of this pain and suffering? And it just really forced me to face those truths and go, you know what? He's probably just not there. There is no comfort, there is no hope that comes from prayer, so why am I playing these games? And I kind of prayed even harder for like a couple of years, and then finally I was like, I am making an absolute fool out of myself, and I will never, ever, ever embarrass myself like that again for anybody. And while I was kind of going through that time, a lot of those things that had been red flags to me when I was a kid kind of sort of came back up. And I realized how ridiculous all of it was, let alone believing there's a God out there. Now, were we created by something? Potentially. Does it care about us? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. And I definitely doubt that he cares about your sex life and whether or not you're a woman pastor and all of the other petty and minuscule weird things that the Bible and churches focus on. And before anyone tries to tell me that those things shouldn't bother me, look, I don't really call myself a feminist. I guess that's an accurate term, I suppose. I'm really not a fan of third wave feminism, if that tells you anything. But I don't think that I deserve to be told that I should have less opportunities, that I should expect to be less happy in life, that I shouldn't have dreams that are as big just because I'm a woman. I despise those messages. I hate those messages. So for anyone, especially who's a guy out there who wants to tell me this isn't a big deal, well, okay, let's have some legit conversations about what men should or shouldn't be doing, because it's not their role. Would you stay in that church? Serious question. Would you really be cool with that? I just feel like people really don't understand why stuff like this is a big deal. Now, I will give credit where credit is due, sort of. I don't think that Allen Parr was too forceful in his video. I don't think he was necessarily doing anything mean. I don't know. I don't know him. I don't know if he's a real guy. I don't know if anything about him is authentic or if it's just kind of this internet personality. So my problem is not specifically what he said in this particular video. It's not the fact that he came out swinging and said women shouldn't do this, women shouldn't do that, women shouldn't be this, because he didn't. That's not how he handled the video. But the fact that you're even giving credit to this conversation is a problem. Like, it's not an important topic, it's a stupid topic. People and families should do what's best for them. That's pretty much it in terms of discussion. And if you can't think of a way to have that conversation without lowering women to a lower level, I just don't have respect for that. It's like the example I gave earlier. If someone seriously suggested that men should not be making videos where they share their opinion, I mean, I might engage somehow, but I'm certainly not going to come at it with, yeah, we should really have a serious conversation about this. Men are expressing their opinion. It's out of control. So anyways, the point is, my criticism is not that Allen Parr was this awful monster in this particular video. It's the fact that even if you're not coming out and specifically saying women shouldn't do X, Y, and Z, it's still ridiculous for you to act like this kind of conversation is a serious one. It's just sexism, plain and simple. It's not that hard to understand. It made me think of a specific memory I had in church. And my parents don't even believe in this, so I don't think they would have been too happy if they'd known that this happened. But you know, it was after the church service and we were kind of wandering around and I was talking to somebody, and you know how people are when they talk to little kids, and they asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I was very, very inspired by my pastor, who was a guy, by the way. And I don't know what it was. Like, even as a kid, because a lot of the sermons I listened to were not really for the whole family. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the way he told Bible stories or what, but I was just on the edge of my seat. I was listening the whole time. And it really inspired me that you could have that effect on somebody. And you could pull them in to give them this great, glorious message. Obviously, I no longer think that it's a great and glorious message, but anyways. And so without hesitation, I said that I wanted to be a pastor. And I was told that I could not, because I'm a girl. I was destroyed. I was crushed. I guess at the time, that particular church wasn't quite as heavy on gender roles as some other things. I got plenty of that stuff at home, trust me. But for whatever reason, for one thing, I just wasn't prepared for that answer at all. I actually, when I got home, I went to my room and I just cried because I was so upset. It was a double blow because not only had I just said, I want to be such and such, and I was just immediately shot down. No, you can't be that. But it was also followed up with this something about God doesn't, I don't remember how she phrased it, if she said that God doesn't allow that or God doesn't want women to do that, but you know, but it was also this idea that I had disappointed God by thinking that I wanted to save people, which is just such a horrible thing for women to want to do. Just awful. It's so terrible that little girls would want to do something like that. And yes, I know that in that story, I was a little kid and I was a bit more sensitive, but even so, this kind of mindset of these conversations should be taken seriously as conversations, it's a problem. And you know, I really have to laugh my ass off at conservative Christian women who want to talk about how strong they are, because when they see stuff like this, they don't stand up to it. It is misogyny, plain and simple, that is behind this stuff. I don't care if someone quotes a Bible verse to justify it. And on the flip side of this, it affects men too. If you have a family where the husband is staying home and the wife is working, a lot of these evangelical Christians would have some very strong opinions about that. And I take issue with that for a couple of reasons. Number one, just as I don't think that women should be told you can't pursue opportunities because you're a woman, I don't think that's a good message for men. I think if message value things at home, or some men are better housekeepers, let's just be honest, okay? Someone had to say it, someone had to say it. Churches love to just latch onto something like that and mock it and cut it down and go, you know, whether it's a matter of coming at it from a biblical perspective or just being hateful. It's so funny how those two are just always like, you know, and whether it's a matter of that family feeling like this is what works for our family, so it's just what we're gonna do, or maybe it's a temporary situation where maybe a husband lost a job. You know, whatever the case may be, I just don't understand why there has to be so much judgment based on gender. And I know this is a topic that I could talk about much, much longer, but I really just wanted to share my story and my thoughts. There's just one more thing I want to add. I grew up around the type of evangelical Christians who taught you that Christianity is not a religion. And frankly, that mentality is, first of all, that mentality is a little dumb. Sorry, it is. Secondly, it's just a way of avoiding responsibility. Not a fan of that. But the excuse would always be, it's not about religion. It's about a relationship with Jesus Christ. It's about a relationship with God. Okay. Then why do you have all of these churches and all of these pastors and all of these Christian YouTube channels telling us all of these rules and stuff? Why isn't it enough if I just want to pray and serve God my way? It's almost like it actually is a religion and y'all just don't want to own anything you do. Because unlike some atheists, apparently, I don't have a problem with someone praying and pursuing God and things like that. It's all of these ridiculous rules and ideas that I think are harmful that I actually take issue with. And on the atheist side of things, I will say that things are not going well. I have not watched a lot of atheist content creators recently for that very reason, but on Twitter and some of this other social media, I'm seeing so many of y'all basically calling for the end of freedom of religion. I know you think you're doing something, and you might even have good intentions, but it's not the great idea that you think it is. It's really not, especially coming from people who claim they just want to live their lives without having other people's views shoved down their throats. That's just so not an answer. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Like I said, I don't think that Alan Parr's video is all that bad. If you want to go watch it, feel free to. But obviously I take issue with using the Bible as a basis for anything because I think it's ridiculous to take it seriously to begin with. But B, it is harmful and it is a problem when the idea of whether or not a woman should have a job is considered a valid question that we should consider. It's kind of like when Jesse Lee Peterson had that extremely hateful video about was it a mistake to educate women. It might sound like Alan Parr is so much softer and nicer and well-spoken, but it's really not much of a leap, I think, to go from women shouldn't have jobs because they're women to women shouldn't be educated because they're women. Sprinkling glitter over bullshit doesn't mean it's not bullshit anymore. And that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, half this video, or even just a quarter of this video, please hit the like button and don't be afraid to subscribe.